Hi again. So we've covered the basics of sprint planning. Now, let's build a 5-day design sprint brief. The sprint brief is a document that you'll share with all of your attendees to help them prepare for the sprint. Let's check out the things that make up a design sprint brief. Start with the design sprint challenge. This introduces your team to the sprint objectives. Think back to the cycling app from earlier. If you created a brief for that sprint, the design challenge might be build exciting new features for the cycling app in time for relaunch later in the year. Next, you need to identify the key deliverables, meaning what your team actually wants to create by the end of the sprint. So, for the cycling app, you might say that we want to have a complete prototype that includes the feature update. Then, it's on to logistics. First, everyone participating in the sprint needs to know where the sprint will happen and when it will be held. You also want to list who's attending and the name of the sprint leader. Usually the sprint leader is the person who sends out the brief to the team. But that's not always the case. If you want to designate a sprint leader, you should do it before you send out the sprint brief. Next, add approvers. Got some higher-ups that need to sign off on the product before launch? This is the place to note it. So if your cycling app needs the official approval of Miss Cycling Enthusiast CEO before launching, the sprint brief should mention it. Your sprint brief should also include a list of resources. For short-term sprints, there's probably a team already assigned to this project. For long-term sprints, you may need to create a plan to secure additional resources. For example, with the cycling app, you might need to assign resources from engineering to take on the work needed to launch the new feature. Next, we have the project overview, where you should explain the current states of the project, call out roadblocks that stand in your way, state early wins if you have any, and outline the estimated launch plan. Finally, you wrap it all up with a sprint schedule, an hour-by-hour schedule of the 5-day sprint, including break times. This lets people know what to expect and gives them time to prep, so that you can keep things moving along during the sprint. And you're done. You've planned your design sprint and created your brief. The only thing left to do now is to put the sprint in motion. If you're still a little confused about what goes into the design sprint brief, you'll find some great examples in the readings. Okay, onward, where we'll learn about the role of an entry-level UX designer in the sprint process.